Hello, and welcome to iHeart Cooking. I'm registered dietitian Jennifer Stachler.
And I'm Chef Dugan Wetzel.
We are both from Reid Health. Today's program is brought to you by Reid Health Community Benefits, WCTV, and RPNL.
On today's show, we have 2 recipes focusing on antioxidants.
Like we said on our intro, we are working with antioxidants, or talking about antioxidants, which we'll get to that in a little bit, but we want to start our recipes because they're going to take a little bit to cook. So the first recipe that we have, you can kind of see we have a water already boiling on our stovetop, is a strawberry rhubarb quinoa pudding. So that's something that we're going to talk about, those antioxidants. We're going to talk about that ancient grain of quinoa, but we want to get this cooking first because it does take some time. So you're going to put about 2 cups of water on the stovetop. We're going to get it boiling. We're going to add our quinoa. We're going to add our rhubarb, our strawberries, and some cinnamon there for flavor. And we'll stir that up and get that started cooking. So now we added all of our ingredients, so we can kind of talk about more of those antioxidants. So when we're talking antioxidants and heart health, antioxidants are actually come from a lot of our pigments that we see in our foods, and also vitamins like A, E, and C. The common antioxidant we're seeing here is that lycopene, which is in that red color pigment of the rhubarb and the strawberries. So why do we want these antioxidants? Well, what happens is we have free radicals in our body that can develop certain types of heart disease and also certain types of cancer. So eating antioxidants can help fight off those free radicals, helping to prevent heart disease or those cancers. So that's where you're getting your health benefit from. So again, we have that lycopene with the red of the strawberry and the rhubarb in this product. So our pudding mixture is kind of boiling here. Like I said at the beginning of this recipe, it's going to take about a good 20-25 minutes to cook over that quinoa. Quinoa is an ancient grain. You kind of hear about these more commonly. You think of chia seeds, you think of wheat berries, but quinoa has definitely been known the last couple years.
Absolutely.
You've been hearing that. One health benefit, or nice health benefits of quinoa that is kind of unique as a grain, is that it actually has all the essential amino acids needed to make it a complete protein. So it is a grain that you can actually substitute for any protein out there that has all those amino acids. Not all grains out there can say that. So that's something very unique for this. So you're thinking this dish, you're getting a complete protein just like you'd be eating chicken, beef, pork, or any of those other types of meats. So it'll take about another 20-25 minutes to kind of let this cook through. So while that's being cooked, we're going to move on to another recipe that's going to be high in antioxidants.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to be doing is a herb crusted chicken with a strawberry relish. And I know when you think of relish, you don't think of strawberries, you think of probably pickles.
Right.
But we're going to make a relish out of the strawberries, which again has that lycopene, which is that antioxidant for you.
So the first thing we're actually going to do, we're using a bone-in chicken thigh, skin on. It's always nice to have the skin on in this instance because we're actually going to be roasting it in the oven. Keeping that skin on keeps the moisture inside the chicken, and it prevents it from escaping and just becoming too dry too quickly. So it's okay to leave the skin on here because it'll kind of crisp up. It'll keep all that moisture in there, and it'll give it an extra flavor. So we've got our chicken thigh. We're going to add just a little bit of olive oil, maybe a tablespoon on top. Going to add a little bit of chive.
And that's something you can use dried chives or you can use fresh.
Absolutely.
Being that it's getting into that springtime, we're going to be getting more of those fresh chives that you're going to have available.
A little bit of basil. And a small amount of pepper. So now that it's on there, always wear gloves because you're using raw chicken. Kind of just incorporate that, rub it into the skin, get underneath it, kind of just spread it out so that the chicken is completely covered with the herbs. Okay. So now that it's already got oil on the chicken, you don't need to spray your pan. You're already ready to go. So just sit it in your pan, set your oven to 350 degrees, and cook it for, since it does have a bone in it, it's going to take a little bit longer to get to the middle and cook it all the way through. So I would say 30, 35 minutes, pull it out and check it. Instant read thermometer should be about 165 degrees. So
Yep.
we're gonna go ahead and get that started.
Since Dugan has that in the oven now, you did see there is 1 chicken thigh there. That's something, depending on how many servings you want, you could put 4 for 4 servings. You can have 6 of them for 6 servings. So you can kind of base it on, you know, maybe there's just 2 of you in the house, you can have only 2 of that. Or you can put, if you're making it for a larger family or get together, you can just add more to that. So it's a very easy recipe to kind of change that serving size there, depending on how many of you are in the house.
Okay. Just kind of stirring that a little bit so we prevent it from sticking on the bottom.
Yep. And while these are both cooking, and you can see this is boiling pretty heavily, again, it still has quite a bit of time to go before that quinoa is cooked through. It's going to take about 30 minutes for that chicken. We can actually start making the strawberry relish side of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now that we have our chicken in the oven, we're going to go ahead and make our relish. Really easy, really quick. Diced strawberries. A little bit of balsamic vinegar, always a good combination, strawberries and balsamic vinegar. You can actually pay a pretty penny at some restaurants to get that as a dessert. So
Absolutely.
easy to make it at home, but so there you go.
Costly when you go out to restaurants.
Absolutely. A little bit of chive, we're going to put that in there. Some pepper and sugar.
And that's something you can use artificial sweeteners.
Yes,
so if you're somebody who's watching, you know, the calories or the amount of carbohydrates for weight, or if you're diabetic, definitely feel free to use artificial sweeteners. You can use, I mean, Splenda. You could use the stevia that's out there. So there's different types.
Out at the room temperature until your chicken's done, and then it's ready to go.
It's very colorful. It's going to give that extra color to chickens, because sometimes you think chicken, yeah, it has some herbs on there that are going to give it that green color to the plate, but you're going to add this right next to that chicken or on top of it, and it's going to make a really nice, beautiful presentation for you, especially when you're thinking the springtime for something.
Absolutely.
Very nice. Other keynote with all these strawberries we're making, very high in vitamin C, which they also say is an antioxidant that fights free radicals.
So the last thing we're actually going to do to our relish is add a little bit of lime zest to it. If you've seen in other shows, microplane, you can get these at any local store, or most of the time your cheese graters have that attachment with it. So we're only going to take about a teaspoon. You don't want too much. You're just, like I said, combating the sweetness from the strawberries with a little bit of the lime here. So just slowly, you know, you don't have to press hard. You're just getting the top off of the lime. You'll see here, once it starts getting white, you've gone far enough, because that's when it starts getting bitter underneath there. So you don't want to go too deep. With limes, same as oranges and lemons, it's really moist on the outside, so it will stick to your microplane. So the easy thing to do is just take your finger and run it across, and then just add it to your relish here. Toss it together, and now it's ready to go.
So our strawberry rhubarb quinoa pudding is about cooked through, and you can see that a lot of that moisture, the liquid in there, was evaporated out, and it was cooked with the quinoa, and it kind of thickens up. So kind of to finish that product, we are going to add some sugar to it, and that's, again, you can add sugar or you can add the artificial sweetener, depending if you want to look at those calories and carbohydrates. So we'll about add a half a cup of that, depending on sweetness that you like. And we're gonna add also a little bit of lime zest to this as well, just like with the chicken dish. So we'll kind of grate that over and add that. After we get some of that lime zest in there, we're actually gonna be adding some cornstarch, because you think of pudding, you're thinking it's gonna be thick like pudding. So that's something, what we did is we added some cornstarch with about 1/4 cup of water. Make sure that you combine the water and cornstarch before you put the cornstarch right in there. Because that's something that you want to make sure that it's kind of liquefied through, because if you would add cornstarch right to this, it's going to clump and you're going to not get the consistency of pudding that you're going to want. So always make sure you're kind of spooning it with water before you put it into something that's hot. We'll put the cornstarch in there and we'll kind of let that cook through to kind of thicken up.
And while she's doing that, we're going to go ahead and we've got some plain Greek yogurt here. We're just going to add a little bit of vanilla to it. This is going to be kind of our topping for the
Absolutely.
For the pudding. So.
And one nice thing about making, basically you're making your own vanilla yogurts.
Yeah.
But you're not adding all that extra sugar that sometimes you see in vanilla yogurts. If you ever look at plain Greek yogurt to vanilla Greek yogurt, you'll see there's a lot of added sugar to that. So that's something we're kind of trying to avoid. And we're going to add the sweetness of just the vanilla. If you don't like that flavor, you can always add a little bit of that sugar or artificial sweetener to that. But again, you're just limiting the amount of calories and sugar added in that product. So now that this is kind of cooked through with that cornstarch, you're actually going to want to take it off the heat, and you're actually going to put it in the refrigerator for about an hour to let it cool. So we'll kind of do that and let that cool for an hour, and then hopefully get to that herb chicken. So our herb crusted chicken is done, so we're going to pull that out of the oven here. So you can kind of see that herbs and how it crusted over in that while it was baking. One nice thing about this baking method is that you're not frying it or anything, and we know when we fry foods, we're adding extra calories, extra fat. So it's something we want to try to avoid frying as much as possible. So baking is a good method here, and it still gives you a lot of that flavor we're looking for. So it's something we're going to leave the chicken actually in whole. So we'll kind of put it on a plate here. And that's something we're then going to add that strawberry relish to it. So you can either have the strawberry relish off to the side, you can put it on top, whatever you would prefer. We'll kind of just put it over the top of this. And you can see it makes a lovely presentation. It has a lot of that color. You think of springtime, it's bright, and we'll kind of cut into it and see how it tastes.
Absolutely. Cut a couple here.
So now we have this cut up. Let's take a bite of this.
It's got that nice acidity that balances with the basil really well in there.
Absolutely, that strawberry and that basil and the chicken, it kind of all goes together. Many of you are probably thinking, sweet, savory, how do you get strawberries to cook with chicken like this? Especially that balsamic kind of feel. Not a lot of people realize they can use that. That kind of blends together, and it gives it that kind of sweet to savory all at once.
Absolutely.
So very, very good dish, very spring-like, very, very light as well. So our strawberry rhubarb quinoa pudding has been in here for about an hour. So we're going to pull that out, kind of assemble it, and kind of give it a try before we kind of wrap things up.
Gotcha.
So you can kind of see that it kind of thickened up on us. Again, it's going to be into that pudding form. And we're going to kind of dish it up into our bowl here. This makes about 6 servings for this, so you can put it into 6 individual bowls. And we're gonna add some of this vanilla Greek yogurt that we kind of made. Put that on top. And we're gonna top it with a few strawberries.
If you want a nice mint leaf or something, would give it that other extra color, give it a little bit more flavor, and just
Absolutely.
finish it off.
So as you can see, it looks like a dessert, so it is mostly considered a dessert. Nice thing about this, I mean, you're having yogurt for your dairy, you have your quinoa for a grain and a protein, and you have your fruit in there that's gonna give a fruit, all those vegetables and those antioxidants. So we'll give it a try here. Some of that pudding there. So it's very sweet, and that's something, again, you can kind of get the sweetness of the fruit, and then we added some sugar there. It is that kind of chewiness with that quinoa.
Absolutely.
So it gives you kind of all different kind of components for you, but it's a great sweet dessert to have at the end of the day. This would remind me, especially during the summertime, a hot sunny day, wanting something cool and refreshing, this would be the key thing to have.
It's pretty good.
That is good. I really like that. Thank you for tuning into iHeart Cooking. We hope you enjoyed all these recipes on antioxidants and used all this information we provided.
For more heart-healthy recipes, you can visit Reid Health's website at reidhealth.org/iHeartCooking.
We'll see you next month.